Your style and your flavor make the city rock. They must say the season come out with a bang. Coach Minzy, best round here. Remember that.
All right, people, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in again to another one here on the coach's desk. We appreciate you being here, my people. I don't know what's going on. We have a very special guest in the building that we want to have a conversation with, right? And he's no stranger to the track and field world. He's a Olympic champion, Olympic gold medalist, one of the few men to have, beaten the legendary Usain Bolt. All right, so this is the man that we're going to be talking to. But before we get into that, people, you know what to do. Do the YouTube things right away before we get Justin Gatlin on screen. So like up the live, share it, tell a friend to tell a friend about us. Welcome also to the persons on Facebook. Yeah, and we are about to begin right now. So I'm gonna bring the Olympian to the forefront right now. People, please welcome Justin Gatlin. All right, Justin Gatlin, welcome to the coach's desk.
What's going on, man? I'm glad to be in the coach's desk, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I trust that you're doing well yourself. Now, first and foremost, I want to get rid of the formalities. This is going to be a conversation. Yeah,
I got you.
we're not gonna go through the niceties of a sit down interview. We're just gonna have a conversation, you know. But we're just gonna ask you a few questions earlier to let the people know where Justin Gatlin started out, and in terms of his track and field career. Where did it all start?
Man, it started for me once I moved to Florida when I was like 6 years old. I was actually living in Brooklyn, New York, man. So I think if I stayed in New York, I would definitely never been a track runner. I probably been like a basketball player, which
Mhm.
probably would never got the fame because I'm too short to be a basketball player. Destiny moved me, man. Destiny moved me to the right places. So Florida, I was able to stretch out a little more, get out of the big city, stretch my legs out, and really discover what my true talent was, which was sprinting.
Okay, and in terms of the high school and the collegiate part of it, how did that part happen?
Man, my first 2 years of high school, I was being coached by a football coach, right?
Hmm.
So he didn't know much about track. He used to sit there in his folding chair, read his crossword puzzles, and be like, all right, y'all just go run around a little bit, right? So I had to learn and teach myself different nuances like of hurdling and a like high jump and all kinds like that. And it came with error. Definitely came with error. You
Hmm.
know, couple of missteps when it came to the high jump, missing the mat or jumping over hurdles the wrong way. But sprinting was always like true to my blood. So that's what a real competition was for me. And after my sophomore year, another coach saw me from a rival school and said, I can get you to college. I was like, "What do you mean? I'm not on track for college." He's like, "No, you're not on track for college at all."
Wow.
So he coincidentally, that was actually the district I was supposed to live in. So where this coach was kind of coaching me and said, "Hey, come to me," I actually should have been there from the jump, from my freshman and sophomore year.
Hmm.
So now I'm going to where I should be, and in my junior year and my senior year, I become state champion off
Okay.
bat. So I was repeat champion going into my senior year, got a full scholarship and everything. So he stayed true to what he told me.
Yeah, definitely. What was it always the 100 and the 200 short sprints?
I never ran a 200 in high school, man. Ever. Never ran a 200.
Just
You
the
know what?
100?
Just so no, actually I did more 300 hurdles, 110 hurdles, and 100 meters. But 100 meters,
Justin Gatlin a hurdler? No, 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 no,
no,
no.
that's how I got, listen, that's how I got my start in college. I was always the fastest kid on the team, but I was the one that can also hurdle. So none of the other fast kids can hurdle. So he actually threw me into hurdles, and that's how I actually got to college, man. That's how I got my scholarship.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow. It's mind-boggling right now to think of you doing hurdle.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know what? After we're
yeah.
done, I'm gonna send you some pictures of me hurdling when I
Yeah.
was in high school, so you can see a picture of me hurdling. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Yeah, tell us about the transition to college.
Man, the transition to college was actually crazy because it kind of piggybacks off of that story where I got recruited as a hurdler. So my coach at Tennessee, he knew I was a hurdler and he knew he was getting a hurdler from me. And side story is they had high school nationals in North Carolina for years. And I begged the meet promoter 2 years straight, let me run the sprints, let me run the sprints. He's like, man, you're a hurdler. You can't run the sprints. So he gave in my senior year. I was like, please,
Mm.
let me run the sprints. I promise you I won't fail you. By the time the dust settled, I got third in the nation when I shouldn't even been a sprinter to begin with. And actually, the person who got first was bigger. It
Yeah,
was
bigger
Dwight. It was
Thompson,
Dwight.
Dwight
Yeah,
Thomas. Yeah,
Dwight
yeah,
Thompson. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he out there ran 10-1, 10. I think it was like 10-17 or something like that. 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who got second was like end up being like a football player for Purdue, running back or something like that. And then I got third. And hanging on the edge of the rail was my college coach who just recruited me, happy for me to be a hurdler. He looked at me and said, I did not know you could sprint. I was like,
Wow.
yeah. So by the time I got to college, he had a little private practice for me to show so I can show him that I can sprint. They had me
Mm-hmm.
sprinting over and over and over again in blocks. And the next thing I know, he kind of whispering back and forth to other coaches. It's like, yeah, we got one. We got a sprinter. So it was good from there.
And that was where it all started. That sounds like a very interesting story. But after being on the NCA circuit, a matter of fact, the NCAs is taking place now. It's
Yeah.
happening. It's happening right now, and I'm missing out on that. But of course, we can always check the results. Um, in terms of your NCAs, after leaving college, did you pick up a contract right away from any other shoe sponsors?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was kind of like a low key bidding war between Nike and Adidas. My
Mm-hmm.
school was Adidas, so in that realm of college and whoever sponsors your college shoe wise, you're kind of like gifted. You know what I mean? Like here. So Adidas
Mm-hmm.
was sponsoring Tennessee at that point in time. So I guess they thought in their mind like this guy is going to pick Adidas first, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Nike was heavy on me, man, heavy on me. And as a kid in the US at that age of like the early 2000s, Nike was everything, man.
Yeah, Nike was a thing.
Nike was everything. So I ended up signing with Nike. It ruffled a lot of feathers when it came to like Adidas and the Tennessee crew, staff members like the AD and everything like that. So I decided to go where my choice was. So I picked
Mm-hmm.
Nike, and that's where I was with, man, right out the gate.
Okay. But before we get into any more details, tell us about how the shoe contracts go, because from time to time you want to find out, the deals that these athletes sign. Why are these deals so private?
They keep the contracts private because it creates division in our sport. Okay. So if me and you had a contract and I don't know what your contract is and you don't know my contract is, but we're both top sprinters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that you're probably getting a better deal than me, and you thinking I'm getting a better deal than you. But we both settling on a number because the shoe companies are talking to each other behind the closed doors.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna sign this guy for 350. Okay, I'm gonna sign
Mm-hmm.
this guy for 352, right? So then now we're not thinking anything of it. We don't think that the shoe companies are talking to each other because they have to be rivals, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it creates division and it does not house unity. So now, if I knew what you were making, you knew what I'm making, then guess what? We both can kind of say, nah, up our price. Nah, my price is a little bit better than that. So, in actuality, the first contract I saw that was publicized was Alan Webb. Remember the distance runner, Alan Webb, who
Mm-hmm.
he was a high school phenom who broke the mile. He broke the
Yeah.
4 minute barrier, first high school kid. And I told Nike, I was like, I got these championships, 6 individual NCAA championships, 2 team titles. I know that I'm worth more than him. No disrespect to Allen at all, right? But I was like, that was a starting point for me. So from there, that's how I negotiated because I didn't know any other contracts.
Right,
So
right.
I used that as a launching pad for me. And then come to find out, it was one of the highest signed contracts of collegiate athletes going pro.
But you think that the track athletes are really short-changed in terms of contract? Because when you hear the other sports, the NFL, the NBAs, these guys, they tend to attract a whole lot of money. The figures are hefty. Do you think that the track athletes are shortchanged, knowing that they put their bodies through, so much rigors to practice?
From a large scale, yes. Yes, a lot of athletes are getting shortchanged. I think but I think the way around it is incentivizing.
Mm-hmm.
Create if you're going to create a base for an athlete, because you got to understand the shoe company's going to take in a gamble too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could be an amazing high school athlete that doesn't pan out to be a great college athlete, right? So if you give a good base of of a real contract, and then you add in heavier bonuses,
Mm-hmm.
because as a shoe company, you're not thinking like, oh, this kid is only 18 years old. He's not going to run 9.8 seconds in the 100 meters. Then you
Yeah.
go out there run 9.8, and then now guess what? Your bonus
Goes up.
goes up by
Mm-hmm.
25, 75%. You know what I mean? So you get to dictate, help, and negotiate what the bonuses could look like in your contracts. This is actually a veterans move. You find a lot of veterans that say, okay, cool, you don't want to budge too much on my base, but let's throw some of these bonuses in here, time bonuses, rollovers, podium status. Those kind of things will be able to accumulate on top of whatever your base is, and you'll get a larger contract. Plus, you also have to remember, have a rollover. So the
Mm-hmm.
rollover is going to mean that whatever I made this season, if I had an amazing season, that same amount rolls over into the next year. So you
Okay.
get that same amount when you start the next year.
Yeah. So it is on the athletes then to always be in tip top shape to perform, so that they can pretty much, it's like sales, they're pretty much paying themselves in
Yeah,
terms of the bonuses and all of that.
100%. I mean, you got to look at, and someone made a great point about this. We look at ourselves as professional athletes, but you also have to look at yourself as an independent contractor. That's
Mm-hmm.
where it comes down to,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So you can set your price. However fast you run, you can say, no, I'm worth this. And you can negotiate through that process with your shoe company when it's time for you to negotiate. But I think where a lot of athletes are losing out on is they're so busy worrying about being just an athlete that they really don't pick up their business hat. They got to become businessmen and businesswomen to know exactly how their contract works, how the environment they're in works. Because guess what? We both can work for a shoe company and work for a shoe company for the next 35, 40 years.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a whole bunch of Justin Gatlins coming through. We're going to see a whole bunch of Sharika Jacksons coming through. Legendary athletes, but for us, our job is to sustain as much money in the bank for our shoe company as possible. So you're going to always rob Peter to pay Paul. The older
Mm-hmm.
athletes are going to get reduced because they're not making the times,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
money is going to go into the younger athletes' pockets because they're making the bonuses and they're fresh new things out.
But with that said, Justin, in terms of the allocation to track and field, it seems as if because of so many athletes involved in track and field, that money is the allocation of that money towards track and field contracts and all of that seem to be on a lower scale than all of these other sports, because the track and field net is kind of wider than those other sports. So if you're not on the top tier or the elite per se performing um consistently, you're gonna have problems in terms of getting a hefty sum of that allocation to track and field.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where the argument lies, because
Hmm.
people on the business side are going to say, well, track and field is not televised, you know what I'm saying, at a
Yeah.
large percent of like American
Mm-hmm.
basketball or
Mm-hmm.
American football or European, football, soccer, whatever like that. So the money is going to be smaller, right?
Right, right, right.
But at the end of the day, it's also the fact of though our sport has to be able to advertise us more and do a better job of advertising us.
Hmm.
We're in the
Hmm.
era of fitness. Everybody wants to be fit. Everybody either wants to eat healthy, they want to work out, they want to figure out how they can stay healthy for a longer period of time.
Hmm.
That falls right into the wheelhouse of track and field. These are the most fit athletes in the world, men and women. So why can that go hand in hand and be publicized as the fittest sport and use that as to gain better sponsorships and likeness?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, as you talk about that, even to watch a simple trap meet, there's so much ins and outs and up and down to try and get to a proper broadcaster to watch these events. So, how do they how do that be fixed though in terms of putting it out there more in the media, track and field?
I think that we need to give our athletes a persona. Think about it. You only get to see your greatest or your favorite runners only for if they're sprinters, you only see them for 9 seconds or 10 seconds,
Yeah,
19 seconds or 21 seconds. You know what I mean?
43, 44,
43, 44,
13
48,
or 12.
49.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're not even seeing them for literally for like a whole minute unless you include the intros. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So and then when they're done, guess what? They're ushered off underneath the stadium to the warm up area, and then you never get to see them again unless another track meet. Give an
yeah,
opportunity and a platform for these athletes to show who they are, their persona, answer questions, show who they are, because that's where you're going to have an opportunity to be able to use that and kind of capitalize more and get more resources that can come into our sport. You see that in other sports. You see that in basketball, you see that in football. You can know Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch loves Skittles.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like we should be able to know what our favorite snack is for any of the legendary athletes that we've seen in front of us. We don't know those little small details like that, and that can help get sponsorships for the athletes and get more vision.
yeah, definitely, definitely. All right, we don't want to belabor too much on that point. You were talking to us about your collegiate and you got the contract now. Walk us through the first year of being a professional athlete and beyond.
Man, I felt like my first year, I felt like a heat seeker. Like I was like, I wanted to ride the wave of success coming off of being an NCAA champion.
Yeah,
And first couple of months in as a professional, I went in, win the 60 meters. I felt like I was on a high. I was like, man, this is easy. I can do all this anytime.
yeah.
And then going into outdoor, I go to Mexico City, which was at elevation. No one told me it was at elevation. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm warming up. I'm out of breath. I'm dehydrated. I go out there and pull my hamstring. And that kind of like snowballed me into my first season where I had so many injuries and ups and
Mm-hmm.
downs my outdoor season. And man, almost to the point where I was distraught, kind of like down because I was like, man, this is difficult. And you realize in college, everything's given to you.
Yeah.
Trainer, travel, everything's given to you. Housing, hotel, meals, everything. As a professional athlete, no matter how much money you make, it's you got to pay for it.
You gotta
You
pay for
may
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you may get a return from your sponsor, but you will initially have to pay for it. You have to find the therapist, you have to find the food, you have to find the travel. That all lies on you. So a lot of people don't tell athletes that to begin with. So that's how my first experience was my first year. And it was crazy, man, because going overseas and never being overseas to begin with, and it was like foreign, like literally it felt like a different world. Like I didn't know a lot of the different things and different foods, so I was learning along the way, and I had to like broaden my perspective and clarity and taste buds on a whole bunch of stuff, man.
Mm, wow. But you went to what was it? The 2003 Worlds.
I
That
did,
that's
man.
that's where you won your first title, right?
No, 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 no. That was indoor. I won the first title, but outdoor, I didn't make the team. I still was injured.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Oh,
re-injured my hamstring the first round of the 100 meters. So literally, I was in Paris, but I was sitting in the audience eating a baguette. So
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So I didn't get a chance to like experience what it was to be a world champion or try to become a world champion on the outdoor. I had to sit there in the stadium, and I remember sitting there eating that piece of bread. Was like, I'm this never gonna happen to me again. I'm never gonna be sitting in the stands unless I want to.
But how did you work that out in terms of putting the necessary measures in place? Did you hire some trainer, a nutritionist, or a therapist to ensure that your help throughout that process not happening
Yeah.
again?
Yeah, absolutely. After that, going into 2004, which is obviously the Olympic campaign, I had to make sure that I had all cylinders were firing. Had to make sure I had a good therapist, nutritionist, understanding what coaching was really about. You know what I mean? Understanding what practice was really about. A lot of people just kind of like be lazy with practice and thinking, okay, this is cool. I got practice tomorrow, and the next day, and next day. But actually, you want practice to be your hardest thing to do, and you want going out competing to be your easiest thing to do. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn that very quickly because it was the opposite in college.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can go out and practice easy, and then you run yourself into shape every weekend until you get to champs. You know what I'm saying? And from championships, that's when you go on into like show how good in shape you are.
Yeah, so in Athens 2004, I don't think you were one of the favorites, but somehow you happened to win. Talk to us about that victory for you.
Man, you're
First
100%
outdoor
right.
title.
I was not the favorite.
Yeah.
I wasn't even the dark horse. So I wasn't even. I remember coming across that line and watching the video for the first time, and the um the commentator said, Justin Gatlin does it. We think he could, but we didn't ever think he would. And that stuck with me, man. I was like, wow, I wasn't even picked to be the favorite, or even close to be the favorite, or even get on the podium. So I think that it opened my eyes up to believe that if I believe in myself enough, anything could be possible. It just takes
Hmm.
time. So I was still green, man. I was still like, I knew it was the Olympics, but I didn't understand the magnitude of it.
The
Because it's all
magnitude, yeah.
we all had a
New.
dream of being an Olympian.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So being in a stadium with hundreds of thousands of people watching you and standing at the start line about to make history, like I didn't know what any of that meant. All I know is the last thing I said to myself before I got on the blocks was, God be with me. If it's meant for me, let me have it. If it's not, back to the drawing board. Got on the
Mm.
blocks, gun went off, history was made.
And you ensure that history lived on the following year in Helsinki,
Yeah.
the
So
World Championship. Yeah.
double gold, world championship. Because what they're gonna say is when you win it, the next thing they say is, "Oh, it's a fluke.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got
yeah, yeah.
lucky." So I had to back it up with a double gold. So I won the 100, and then the funny thing about the 200 was Tyson Gay, Wallace Spearman. They were running circles around everybody that year. They was running
Hmm.
19.6s like it was going out of style. And at that point in time, I haven't broke 20 seconds since my sophomore year in college. So almost a year and a half before that. So I was like, man, these dudes about to give me trouble. And for whatever reason, there was a big rainstorm in Helsinki, and it gave us another day of rest, and that's what I needed because I
Hmm.
would have went from the 100-meter final straight to the next day into the 200. I would have been tanked.
Yeah.
So it gave me that extra day, and then I was able to go out there and say, okay, how are we gonna run? How are we gonna win this race? Because these guys are ready to run. I said, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna get out as hard as I can, and I'm gonna take control of the race, and I'm gonna see if I can break them coming off the turn, and see if they can run to my cadence coming to the finish line.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. I had to play the mind games because I really felt that they were the fittest of those two athletes going
Yeah.
into that race for sure.
Okay. Which one of those wins was the most memorable for you? World Championship versus Olympics.
The Olympics by far, man. The Olympics, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Every kid, and listen, every kid that gets into track and field, if they're really big dreamers and confident in themselves, they want to be an Olympic champion at some point in time. It doesn't matter if it's a relay or individual race, running,
Hmm.
jumping,
Hmm.
pro, and whatever. It's the fact that you want to be an Olympic champion. So for me
Yeah.
to accomplish that so early on in my career, I was like, bro, all right, but what are we doing next? We got to keep on winning and winning and winning if we can.
Yeah, definitely. But Justin, this part of it now is gonna be a little bit tricky because I don't know how you feel about it, but in terms of your mental space. But I know it's in the past. But after that, you were hit with some sort of sanction where
Yes,
you were banned from the sport.
yes.
What happened to you during that period?
So if anyone follows my timeline, I was diagnosed with ADD early on, or some people consider ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had that since I was in second grade, so I took medication for that.
Mm-hmm.
At a junior meet, my freshman year in college, my coach signed me up for a junior meet to make the junior team. And I still had traces of my medication that was in my system, which was
Mm-hmm.
Adderall. And that really, I came up positive. And I never looked at myself as a bad guy or a guy that's trying to get over on anybody. You know, I just
Mm-hmm.
want to go out there and just show my God-given talent and compete to the hardest. You know, I show all my competitors respect. Always did then and always do now. And when it came back that I tested positive for the Adderall, which was my ADD medicine, because I had minute traces of amphetamines in the medication,
Mm-hmm.
um, it crushed me, man. It crushed me, because I didn't see myself that way.
Yeah.
Um, so after that, I had to sit out for 2 years. So within that 2 year period, I still was in college. So I ran my sophomore year, which I still became NCAA champion in 100 and 200. And we also won a team title. And then after that, I got a letter that said that my ban was just lifted, just like that. I didn't fight for it. I didn't take it back to court. I didn't appeal. I just had a
Mm-hmm.
letter that said your ban has been lifted, which was crazy. So then that's when I started my professional career after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then fast forward back to where we were. Um, yeah, I got in bed with the wrong therapist who felt slighted because he wanted to double dip on me. He wanted for me to pay him as well. And then he
Mm-hmm.
was getting serviced by the shoe company that I was with at that point in time.
Oh.
And I called him out on it and then fired him. But at that point in time, there was no therapist that was as good as he was. And me being 20 years old, I don't know the difference. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know people can be scorned or feel some type of way. So I feel like we rehashed it, talked it out as men. And to circle back around, I felt like it was a sabotage situation that happened to me. When you lay on
Oh.
that, people ask like, well, how did that even happen? So when you lay on the table getting a massage, I don't care where you at, professional athlete,
Yeah. Yeah.
saw envy, wherever you want to go, hand in stone. What's the first thing they tell you to do? They tell you to take your clothes off, and then they tell you lay face down, right? So after
Mm-hmm.
you lay face down, you don't know what's
You don't know
happening.
what's happening. Yeah.
You don't know what they're putting on you. You don't know anything. You're trusting the therapist at that point in time, and that's the trust that I put in the therapist that I had. And I felt like that's where it came from because, and people ask, well, how do you know that's the case? Because, well, I know what goes into my body, how I ate, but then
Mm-hmm.
also the fact of I I looked at the medical records that they did for the tests, and it wasn't a spike of any kind of like foreign substance. Spike would have meant that it was an injection of some sort. It was like a low wave. So that means that was something that was topical that was put onto my body. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
we did the math on it. All right, one and one makes two. So this is the situation that we're dealing with right now. And then come to find out, we passed that information on to my shoe company. And then one of the guys who worked for the shoe company actually called out the therapist, and then they had a fist fight about this. And then the
Okay.
therapist broke his hand in the situation. And yeah, after that, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna be redeemed. People are gonna, it's common sense. All right, cool. It wasn't that common. So I was facing a lifetime ban. Then it got reduced to an 8 year ban.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got put down to a 4 year ban, which was not heard of at that point in time. So now, as a 20, 21, 22-year-old athlete, 4 years away from something that you love is unheard of, not getting paid for it. It
Yeah.
just it put me in a really dark place, man. Really dark place. For a long time, it was hard for me to talk about this kind of topic without feeling very,
Mm.
very emotional
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that's why I started out the conversation like that, because I know this thing can be very you probably feel some type of way. That's why I said that I know that you're behind it, but we're getting into a touchy part of the conversation. But I appreciate you sharing this, and it just goes to show then, Justin, based on several persons, probably athletes who have asthma, ADHD, ADD, and stuff like that, who are on medication. Is it a case where those things are in their system? Are they getting any sort of advantage, you'd say, in this time now? Because
I
if
mean,
they have that TUE, then they are going to be pass, so to speak, to go along. But is it actually giving them an advantage?
Well, I mean, well, first of all, yes, there are TUEs now to put in place for athletes who have disabilities of some sort that needs to take
Mm-hmm.
some kind of medication.
Yeah.
In my career, there was no TUE, especially in the beginning. So it was a yes and a no. There was no
Mm-hmm.
middle ground at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think as human beings, there's a lot of people that are going to try to take advantage of the system anyway. You know what I mean? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where we always lean as humans to think that someone's trying to take advantage. But there are athletes out there who do need a TUE for whatever purposes to
Mm-hmm.
be able to just have an even playing field for themselves when they compete. I can't speak on inhalers or anything like that. I never had that, but for the Adderall situation for me, I don't feel like it gave me an advantage
Mm-hmm.
because it makes you hyper focused, right? So for me, I was already focused. I love what I did. I was like a sponge. I absorbed everything my coach would tell me. So at times where I would come back from class while I was in college and I'll have the medication still in my system and I'll go to practice,
Mm-hmm.
it made the 400 meters feel like a mile. Like you super focused on your breathing, you super focused on every ache and pain that's in your body, you super focused on, everything that's going on around you.
So
So
you're
I can
pretty much
see,
feeling everything that you're actually doing.
yeah. So it's not numbing the negativity of
Yeah,
anything. It's
yeah,
really it's hyperizing everything that's going
yeah,
on
yeah,
with you.
yeah.
The lactic acid, everything that's going on with you. So now I had to revamp how I took my medication or when I took my medication. So by the time I did have practice, it wouldn't be in my system anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I always felt great when I didn't have that medication in my system. It was more for learning based and staying focused in class than
Mm-hmm.
actually for me to compete. But I think for people who are out there who take a medication that's similar, I don't know if it gives them an advantage or not, but you know, I see it as if it needs to be, then it needs to be for them. If
Mm-hmm.
the powers
Yeah.
to be, the federations feel like it's okay and to give them thumbs up, who am I to tell them yes or no, or if it's good or bad?
Yeah, yeah. Because you would have had experience with your type of medication, and well, basically, essentially, what I'm getting, it had some sort of negative effect on you, where you feel more of the pain as you go throughout your training. So
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
would be interesting to hear from another athlete who probably would have gone through something like that. But let's continue with the trajectory of your career. You came back from that ban. um I guess a lot of fans and probably competitors, I don't know, you'd have to tell us that, if they ostracize you, turn up their faces at you when you came back into the sport, what was that like?
Funny enough, it wasn't really like the athletes or the competitors that I competed against. They never really turned up their nose to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think most for the most part because they also knew my pedigree. They
Yeah.
knew from early on that I was actually an athlete. An
Mm-hmm.
athlete knows when another athlete's an athlete, when you're a true athlete. You can watch them kind of rise to where they're at. You know what I mean? So when you just come out of nowhere and you just start running fast and beating people who are seasoned, tried and true, then it's like, all right, you're scratching your head a little bit, like, all right, that don't make too much sense. But the athletes never really, to my face, gave me kind of any grief at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, male sprinters are going to be male sprinters. They're going to say, hey, you come back, you still the enemy, so we still got to beat you. I think I had to gain my respect back in the sport through those athletes and had
Mm-hmm.
to go out there and really fight for my titles once again. But I think more of the fan base. The fan base, the journalism was horrible, bro. The journalism was like, they took any chances, like smear my name, step on my
Mm-hmm.
name, drag me through the mud. And then obviously, as fans, a lot of them read the headlines instead of really
Yeah.
going into the fine details of understanding case by case situations or athlete by athlete situations. They just label you as what is because that's what's thrown on you.
Yeah. Okay. But you overcame that, and as you continued on your career, you started to compete with one and only the legendary Usain Bolt. Yo, those are some fierce battles. Those were some fierce battles. And I heard you saying talk about, mind games he played on you and stuff like that. What was it like competing with Asafa and Usain? Can we see our part Asafa a lot now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, my true rival
Mm-hmm.
was Asafa because we came into the sport at the same time,
Yeah,
so we're
yeah,
the
yeah.
same age. So we went through our career pretty much at this parallel to each other, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I feel like I would be his sounding board. He would be my sounding board when it came to like, what kind of shape are you in? How fast are you running? Or Safa's run this time, you know, you better get it together, dog, because he run that time. You got to run that time too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's how it was for me. It was a pride thing when it came to like competing against Asafa and competing with Asafa, right? Um, but I think for Usain, it was like
Hold
Usain
on.
was
Before we get into the Usain, you guys used to compete a lot on the circuit and at championship. You and Asafa. What was
Mhm.
the relationship as is? As the was it the same as is now? I got
no,
a little
no, not at
confused there.
all, man. Yeah, not at
Okay.
all. It was, I mean, there was no hate towards each other, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
never did anything hateful towards each other, but it was a
Yeah.
fact of like
Friendly rivalry.
it was a friendly rivalry, but it was like you knew that that was the dude, and he
Yeah.
knew that I was the dude too. And
Mm-hmm.
if anybody come out here and capture the moment, it's gonna be that guy across the track, you know, who's warming up against you. And we also when you're a professional, you have your circle, right? You have your coaches, you have your agent, you have your team. Same thing with him, his coach, his agent, his team. So you look at everyone as the opposition. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I can't talk to you, you a Sapa's agent. Oh, I can't, you know what I mean, vice versa.
Yeah,
So no
yeah.
one ever really spoke to each other, engaged each other, because we were so young and
Yeah, yeah.
impressionable. But I think as we became older, we realized that we had more in common than most of the people that we had in our life, man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
no one could understand the magnitude of losing on a big stage like like Asaf and I could. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In that situation. To run fast and feel like you the king of the world or you a superhuman because how fast you could run. No one could understand that at that point in time except for me and Asafa. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So as I got older, I realized I was like, and I got towards the end of my career, I was like, man, I never hated this dude, man. If anything, I actually I actually like this guy. You know what I'm saying? Because he was tough, he was
Mm-hmm.
big, he was strong. Like that's something that you admire. You admire that in a competitor that they're gonna come with everything they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got in contact with each other after we kind of retired, and we just had banter back and forth over social media, and then it came cool, and then we DM'd each
Yeah.
other. I was like, "Hey man, what's up?" Hey, I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna pull up to Jamaica. Let's go." He's like, "All right, man." I was like, "All right, man. What's a good hotel to stay?" He said, "Man, you're not staying in a hotel, man. You staying with me." Like that.
Yeah.
So he showed me so much love and hospitality every time I've come to Jamaica, man. Every time, man. And I appreciate him for that, for sure. And the door's
Yeah.
always open when he's ready to come to Texas too, man. So I really feel like my career ended, but after my career ended, I gained a brother
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we understand what fatherhood is at the same time. We have kids around the same age, so
Mm-hmm.
we kind of have a lot of things in common now too.
Yeah, so there's a little bond there that has developed. That's good. That's good to know that, like we said, competitors, rivals become friends. That's very good. You understand? Yeah, you were talking about Usain Bolt now when after the competition with Asafa that was parallel. So now
Yeah,
Usain Bolt now. Talk to us about that.
you know when you watch a movie or you play a video game and you make it through level by level, and then you get down
Mm-hmm.
to the last level and you're going against the big boss,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it felt like when I came back into the sport. It felt like I was lining up against the big boss, you know, and I had to figure out how to beat the big boss. And it took me a lot of times to figure it out, you know what I mean? But each time made me hungry and it also humbled me as a
Mm-hmm.
human being to realize, okay, like I know I'm fast, but this guy is different fast. How do I get to different fast? So that's why I had to start working on this, how to be faster than I ever was before. But and Usain just has the whole package of everything, man. You know what I mean? Not just a fast guy, but he commands the room. He commands a stadium. He's a rock star. He's born to party. He's born to have a great time. He's born to celebrate. So if you're born to do those kind of things, the only thing left for you to really do is be the fastest guy. You got to come across the line first. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what kind of helped him be the athlete that he is and the great athlete that he is. He's like, he had a lot of pieces already in order. We see a lot of fast guys, a lot of fast ladies, that come across the line and they still don't possess that excitement. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They don't captivate the audience.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
saying you saying captivates the audience. Damn, he damn sure captivates his own competitor. We look at him and be like, damn, bro, like dude's real. Dude is
So it
real,
was
man.
like a starstruck moment.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, so I think a starstruck moment is more like, you kind of paralyzed, like you don't know
Yeah,
what to
yeah.
do. But it's like mad respect, like serious
Mm-hmm,
mad
mm-hmm,
respect. Because I mean, you have to be on your game to even possess an opportunity to be, you know, a battle in a race against him. To
mm-hmm.
even think that you can have an opportunity to beat him, you got to be on your A game. So I feel like in that way, he broke a lot of people along the way because he caught a lot of people off guard. I think the gift of the curse of that situation for me is in 2008, I wasn't racing. So I was able to sit back, watch him make history on television and like shock the world. And then the way I was able to compute it was instead of being in that race and being blindsided and just like blowing my mind, I was in awe. I sat there at a bar and I watched this man come across the line and run 9.6 the first time, and then the following year run 9.5. And I think the only thing that went through my mind is that competitive juices started to flow, and I was like, I want to race that guy. That's the
Yeah,
guy I want to race. Because you really want to feel like you want to feel how good you are. You got to measure yourself up against who the best is to see how
yeah,
good you are.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, 2016, you had the entire Jamaica fretting, worried. Because Justin Gatlin was on the circuit. Just every race Justin Gatlin run. Fast, fast. So, right, you were the man to beat.
Oh, 15. Yeah, 15.
Yeah, 2015. You were the
Yeah.
man to beat. And I tell you, when when we see Usain Bolt, hey, I always talk about this, You actually lost your form. You panic. And you started to swim, we call it. Right?
Hmm.
But Usain Bolt held his form, held his technique, and he was able to narrowly pipped you on the line. What was that race about? Is it that you see a boss come up on your shoulder and you just start panic? Because you were leading that race, Justin.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you put it in simple terms for sure. You put it in simple terms for sure, bro. But I think for me, it was like, to be honest, I felt like it was foreign to me, huh? Because in the warm-up area, so many people come up to me like, "Good luck today, hope you win. Good luck today, hope you win." Right?
Yeah.
And if you look through the career for the last couple of years, Usain dominated. So
Mm-hmm.
hearing people come up to me and wishing me luck, hoping that I win, it like it made me beside myself. So as I went through the rounds, I still felt good, still felt comfortable. I probably used up a little too much energy in the semis. Um, and then going into the finals, I thought it was going to be an easier run because throughout Usain's season, he didn't look like the Usain that we know that he is,
Yeah.
you know?
That's why we were
So
worried, man.
yeah, listen, I totally understand. Totally understand, man. But I'm gonna tell you one thing I learned from that moment. As the gun went off and I started to run and I cleared the field by the 50-meter mark, here comes those long Jamaican legs. And I see them out of peripheral, the side eye. I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, here it comes. And he starts spinning and he starts stepping right next to me. And I'm trying to say, all right, stay calm and just kind of just relax and you'll pull away. I wouldn't pull away nowhere. We were going stride for stride to the line. And then obviously I couldn't get to the line any quicker because I was like, I know I'm already tapped. And I'm like 10 meters before the finish line, and I started swimming. And I
Yeah.
come across the line. I'm thinking he's going to start swimming too, and he does it. Stays tall, runs to the line, and then I remember looking up. And by the time I looked up and I was like in disbelief, all I see is right. But then he looked over his shoulder at me. He looked over his shoulder at me. He was like, the look he gave me was like, bro, this is yours to win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was like, this is yours to win, bro. And from that moment on, I realized not only was he a showman who could put on a great show, because sometimes you can crush showmen under pressure because that's where their energy lies. if they can put on a great show and you allow them, they're always going to be the king of the world. But if you put pressure on them, sometimes they'll crack
Yeah.
and they'll revert back to not being the great athlete you know they could be. That wasn't Usain.
Yeah.
Usain was not only a showman, but he was a true competitor. He
Hey, you know,
knew what was on the line, bro. He knew what was on the line.
because he said in an interview, you know, he saw the look on your face and he recognized that you seem like a wounded person. Just to paraphrase it, he did not say those exact words. But
So
you
this is
just
what he
look
said.
and see the fear. Yeah,
So
go
this is
ahead.
what he said. This is what he said. And then he said this on my podcast, actually. And I didn't realize it, but I remember the moment he talked about. We were in the call room. Now, mind you, I'm one of those kind of competitors, I'm really quiet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to give you any kind of reading. I'm gonna be a poker face. Like if I'm having a bad day, you won't know. If I'm having a great day, you won't know, right? I said something to him. I said, "You ready?" Just like that.
Yeah.
And then he looked at me like in disbelief that I talked to him. He was like, "What?" And in his mind, he said, "Oh,
You're
he's
just in a
nervous.
problem.
He
Yeah.
nervous. He nervous like me." That's what he said. He's nervous like me. And that gave him the confidence to go out there and run all the way to that finish line, bro. That's what it was.
Because I know the thing with athletes, you know, once you're in the call room and you're heading out, no talking. You put on the blinders because you're focusing on the tunnel vision. And him right. Once you talk to him, he knows that you're in a problem.
But here's the thing though, the world never sees us in the call room. And
Yeah.
me and him are like yin and yang. We're total opposites, bro. Like when I'm in the call room, I'm quiet. I'm just sitting there staring, right? Menacing in a way. This dude talking to everybody. He's
Yeah.
going around the room talking about people's shoes. Hey man, how you feeling? Giving high five, giving daps. Like that made him calm. That was his focus. If he
Yeah,
could
yeah,
be
yeah.
relaxed and calm and be uh joyful, you know what I mean, and having a great time, that means that he was in his zone. If you ever catch you saying quiet, like I was quiet, then
Yeah.
he was not in his zone, bro. He was not in his zone.
Yo, that was a race though, man. But talk to us now. That moment that you finally defeated Usain Bolt. To walk
It
us
was
through.
more, I would say, man, to be honest, bro, it was more strategy, right? A win is a win. Whoever
Yeah.
come across that line first is the winner, regardless, right? But when you look at it, is the fact of I capitalized on the moment, and the first time I really strategized from a point of like a long game. Huh?
Mm,
So I realized that his focus was on the young guy, right? The young new sprinter from USA. And they were in 3 and 4. I was already in lane 8. So I was far away from both of them, right?
yeah.
So I felt like they counted me out, that I wasn't going to get the job done. I was going to be running through traffic. But what I did is I used Johan, I used Reese Prescott as kind of like my gauging points throughout the stages of my race. Johan was a good starter. He's going to give you the first half really good, right? And then Reese Prescott, not the best starter, but he has a really good top end. He's going to run
But,
people down if he can.
but hold on. Coleman was in that race too, right?
Yeah, he's in 3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's who he was. That's who Usain was battling with over
Was
there.
folk. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you remember in the semis, they came across the line and they both were looking at each other.
Yeah.
So I realized this was a different kind of world championships where his focus wasn't on Gatlin. His focus was on somebody else now.
Coleman, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So I use that to my advantage as much as possible. And I know if I stayed in front of Johan to the 50-meter mark and I made sure I didn't let Reese Prescott catch me all the way to the finish line, I was in good standings. I felt like I was in good standings. I was either going to get on the podium. That's what I felt, right? So after I kind of went through that phase of getting to the 50-meter mark and then kind of pushing on to the finish line, I realized that I looked over. It was daylight. There was no one in front of me. It was me in the finish line. And at that point in time, I was like, I'm about to win this race. I'm about to win this race. So that was good though. I think that was like one of the best strategies I applied throughout my career at that point in time.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of folks believe that you cannot really strategize in a 100 meter, but there you go. You did just that, and ensure that you got that title. But the pose that you give Usain Bolt, what was that about?
Listen, man, and this is no knock on you saying at all. I think anybody in that position going through history who had an opportunity thinking that they had an opportunity to beat Usain, you thinking in your mind like, man, I'm about to beat Bolt up. I'm about to do all kind of crazy stuff. I'm about to go wild in the stadium. I'm about to jump into the
Mm-hmm.
crowd. Because it wasn't even the fact that you won gold. You beat Bolt to get gold. Like you got to go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I crossed that line, something hit me, dog. Something hit me and said, bro, respect. I was like, this man made you change your technique, made you change your race strategy,
Mm-hmm.
made you train just for one individual. He was the 1%. You had to change everything about who you are as Justin Gatlin, a sprinter, just to be able to battle this guy for this moment to happen. I was like, it would be no respect if I jumped out there and celebrated and not pay homage to him. And it was his last race, bro.
Mm.
Last 100 meters that the world was ever going to see. I didn't
Yeah.
want to be remembered. I didn't want to be remembered as that guy that acted the fool when we should have paid homage to such a legend in our sport. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted him to know that I respected him throughout his career. I
Mm-hmm.
respected every time I raced him, and he made me a better human being too. So that was that what that was.
So you think that he's the greatest of all time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the next few questions, big up the people in the comment section. Thank you very much for I see the comments, but I can't read them. We soon take some questions from the chat. Please, if you have not subscribed to Ready Set Go podcast, you need to do that. All right, you need to do that. Now, Justin, after all of that, I think that was a beautiful career from you as well. In terms of, I think earlier you made mention of how athletes, market themselves. If you like Skittles, you should be probably promoting it so something can happen in terms of the whole advert of the sport itself. Here comes Grand Slam. I see you in Jamaica. You were in Miami, and I met you up in Philly. What
Yep.
is your take on the whole Grand Slam in introduction to track and field?
At first, I didn't understand the concept. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how you're gonna run this or the points and everything like that. But once it left paper and you get to see it in real time,
Mm-hmm.
loved it. Loved it from the beginning because it gives you opportunity to race as an athlete, gives you opportunity to race some of the highest athletes, high profile athletes over and over again. Same
Mm-hmm.
scenario, same situation, 100,
Yeah.
200, 200, 400, short hurdles, 100, all this kind of stuff like that. And that's also what brings excitement to be able to see people like Nugent. I never even knew Nugent could even run 100 meters. She ran
Yeah.
11:0.
Yep.
She a sprinter who can hurdle. That's what she is. She's a
Of
sprinter who can
course.
hurdle.
She not. Yeah.
Yeah. So that made me understand that that's what our sport needs. It needs a different perspective. Doesn't mean that it has to change to just being just Grand Slam, but
Mm-hmm.
Grand Slam offers a whole different perspective of how we can compete at a high level. Now athletes can strategize. Maybe I'm not the best in the 100, but I'm a better
Mm-hmm.
200-meter runner. So if I win
Yeah.
the 200 and I get third in the 100, that means that I can probably get a 60K, 100K in my pocket. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So, and the payout is great. As athletes, they love it. You can have a bad day in the office and Grand Slam and still come away with 10K in your pocket, you know?
Yep.
And
Yep.
for a lot of races out there, you just winning the race and getting 10K. So that showed you the perspective of the financial lopsidedness in this situation, how Grand Slam has brought more cash flow, more money. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Grand Slam as a platform, since they have a smaller amount of athletes who compete over and over again for them,
Mm-hmm.
it gives them an opportunity to actually show those athletes persona, sit down with them and understand them
Yeah.
a little
Yeah. Yeah.
more. So that's what I like about Grand Slam as well.
Yeah, and like you said earlier too, you talk about the introduction and they give like a little feature on each athlete and so forth. With some of the athletes, which is pretty good. But of course, with anything that is new, there's always gonna be pushback, right? And they talk about the crowd situation when it was in Jamaica, Miami. Of course, it seems to be a good one as well. Philly was off the chain. But throughout that series of event, they actually pulled a day and pulled some events on the third the third
The
happening
third day.
the third happening of Grand Slam. Do you see that this is a downward trend for Grand Slam, or it is still gonna be sustainable going forward?
No, I think 3 days was long. You know, I love track. I love watching track. In Jamaica, I mean, where else do you want to be? A whole weekend in Jamaica, watching
Mm-hmm.
track and field, you know what I'm saying, eating good food, it was paradise. But I
Mm-hmm.
think for athletes to be around and use those 3 days to compete was a long time for them, you know, and also for television as well, because you make sure that you want to package your platform and your meet to where it can be television worthy, so people can really watch it and be
Mm-hmm.
entertained and be still engaged. So
Yeah.
I think chopping it down to 2 days and then turning around and having to cut a couple of distance runs because it just wouldn't work. It had to be done, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, those distance runners, even if they're not making 100K, there's a lot of races out there where they're not making 50K either. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So it's still a big prize for them to be able to go out there and run one race to win 50K, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and I broke it down for a lot of people. I was like, well, 2 days is not a lot in this, and you're running 100 meters, and then you got to come back the next day and run 200 meters. I was like, check it out like this. So many of us as athletes go to our coaches and say, Coach, man, I don't got 4 or 5 of these reps in me. Let me just do one rep fast as I can, and then
Mm-hmm.
that'll be the day. And then the coach says yes. Now, normally he's not going to say yes 2 days in a row. But if you can run an all out 100 one day and then come back and run an all out 100 the next day, that's like the best practice you ever had in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just doing it at a high level. So it still did a great job. It didn't tax the athletes. It was able to compete at a high level, and then they were done. So I like the concept. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think them taking it down to 2 days is going to hurt them. If anything, I think that it showed that Michael is listening and watching
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. That is
showing that,
evident.
yeah, it's showing that he is in tune with how it's going and what
Mm-hmm.
people think and the feedback.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah.
granted, how many seats does the stadium, National Stadium in Jamaica hold? Probably 30,000, right? Or something like that, right?
No, 37.
All right, cool. Somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
We know track and field. This is the first inaugural Grand Slam.
Yeah.
30,000, 37,000 people not going to show up to this event.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
Plus, there
So
were some important happenings in Jamaica on that weekend,
exactly.
which
So
people not gonna miss, if you ask me.
and then on top of that, what happened a week prior? Champs.
Camps, exactly.
Exactly. So everyone
Mm-hmm.
is either tired from being outside of champs or all week, or they didn't have enough money in their pocket to go get a ticket for Grand Slam. So they had to choose between one or the other. Tried and true. We know champs are going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see how Grand Slam plays out. And then maybe next year around, the stands will be full of people, you know? But I think that because 37,000 people didn't show up, people looked at it as a failure, right? Because the stands weren't full. But Friday, it started at 5 o'clock. Where are people usually at on Friday at 5 o'clock? Still at work or in
Still at work,
traffic.
yeah. And traffic,
Exactly.
yeah. Friday traffic is terrible.
Exactly. So what that did is I think Michael saw that and he changed it to where now it's just a Saturday, Sunday kind of meet.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, people can't get off work early. They're not gonna come out to the stadium. They're gonna go home, try to change, get some food, and then come. But by that time that happens, the meet's over.
Mm-hmm.
So cutting out Friday and just worried about Saturday and Sunday, I think it proved well for Miami, right?
Yeah.
And it was amazing for Philadelphia. Philadelphia holds a large amount of seating too, and I think they had almost for the lower deck, especially on the home side, it was almost full to capacity. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think to me that was a home run. So I think right now is how is LA going to handle it, and are people going to show up to watch in LA?
Yeah, that is something. And in terms of moving forward, you think the 2 day format is good? Well, I like the 2 day format. I think they were also efficient in how they go about, pacing the events. They were very efficient. But in terms of long-term investment, you think investors are going to want to, continue to be a part of this, because are they really having returns from the Grand Slam, the investors?
I mean, I hope so. I would hope that they're still going to invest. I can see how they have returns. Yes, I think it. I think it can be a sport or an event that can be profitable for our track and field world. Because now, with a 2 day event, and you hyper focus on a certain amount of athletes and just only a certain only running events, you can bring in celebrities, you can bring in other CEOs and sponsors and use it like an event like a Formula One, right?
Mm-hmm.
People show up to Formula One and don't know many of the races at Formula One, but they're there because the event is star-studded.
Yeah.
It's an experience, and that's how you can turn Grand Slam into an experience for everyone to be able to enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Um, in terms of Usain Bolt, let us backtrack a little bit. I wanted to ask this question about Usain. Um, is there any athlete, even yourself included, is there any athlete in Usain Bolt's league? Anybody close to Usain Bolt? I know you beat him still, but I mean, over his
In
career.
any athlete in track and field or any sports
Yeah,
in general?
in track and field. Let's just leave it at tracks.
No, I don't think so. No, not I'm not hating on anybody, but it's the way he did it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not only did he win Olympic gold medals and world championship medals, but he's annihilated records doing it at the same time.
Yeah,
To
yeah, yeah.
run 9.6, the world never seen 9.6. It wasn't like he shaved off 100 or a couple of hundredths of a second. You know what I'm saying, to better the world record from whatever it was at that point in time, 9.72 to 9.70. He went down deep. You know what I mean? He went into the
Mm-hmm.
9.6s, and then he turned around the next year and went into the 9.5s. He went 1919, 1993. I mean, yeah, 1930,
30, 31.
31, and
Mm-hmm.
then went 1919. So the things that he did in our sport, it was done at a very high level. It wasn't like he took a lot of losses to get there. He stayed at a high level, he competed at a high level, and then he won at a high level too. So I don't see anybody in our sport that was that consistent across the board. You know what I mean? And you could
Yeah.
you could argue apples to oranges when it comes to someone like Mondo, the pole vaulter,
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
dominates the pole vault world. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
in a world where the whole world watches who becomes the fastest man for 9 seconds, you can't hold a candle to that any other event in our sport.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
can't.
All right. Jamaica will show you a lot more respect and love for that. All right. Is there any youngster coming out of the NCAs that you see might pose a challenge for the USA team? Might unseat any of the seasoned veterans?
Boy, Jordan Anthony right now from Arkansas, he looking fierce, dog. And I watched that. I watched this video a couple times. Him running that 9.75 with a 2.1 tailwind, and he slows down probably 20 meters
Yeah.
before the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you take that wind and put it down to a 2.0, and let's just say he runs through the finish line, you still looking at 9.75, bro. It's still a 9.75.
Yeah.
So I want to see if he can replicate it at NCs and what he can do. Because if he is able to handle business at NCs and become double gold champion, double champion in the one and the two, then you're looking at the next one of the great stars is going to come and really upset the sprint world, especially at Team USA, for sure.
Okay. And two athletes that we see turning the screws right now for Team USA. Melissa Jefferson and Kenny. Kung Fu. Are they front runners right now? You think there's any upset on the cards for them in terms of, unseating like Noah Lyles and or a Shakiri in the 100?
I think it's going to be very hard. They are the front runners for sure
Mm-hmm.
because we had opportunities for the last month and a half to watch them
Mm-hmm.
progress and run faster and faster and and have PRs, man. You know what I mean? So early in the season too. I would think that it's going to take an individual who is going to peak at the right time to even pose a threat to them at the champs for Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's just say both of them, right? They're running a 1 and a 2. So usually if they went somewhere to a Diamond League or a World Challenge, they're going to run either a 100 and that's it, or 200 and that's it. They're running 1 and 2. They're going to come back from Jamaica 1 and 2 to Miami 1 and 2 to Philly 1 and 2 to LA to 1 and 2. So now they don't have to worry about finding that energy for the rounds. They're
Yeah, they have
creating
that
that.
rhythm.
They have that rhythm already for the
Yeah.
rounds. So they're going to be very dangerous when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to national championships. And to be dethroned, it's going to be very difficult for individuals, I think, to dethrone them.
Okay, all right. So
Confidence too, man. Confidence, man.
yeah,
They got
yeah, yeah,
confidence, bro.
yeah, yeah.
They got confidence right now.
And Kenny runs so effortlessly. It amazed me how he runs so effortlessly. You know?
I told him a long time ago because we trained together. I was like, Kenny, if you ever get your start together, bro, you're gonna be a dangerous individual, man. So
Mm-hmm.
now he's getting that start together now, man.
Definitely is. All right. So you competed for United States and you competed against Jamaicans. Why is this rivalry so great?
I think it's really the only events, the events that you will see from the sprint side.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jamaica has so much pride for their athletes that it kind of bleeds into the country, right? Same thing with Team USA.
Mm-hmm.
We're so used to winning that it bleeds into our country. It's unheard of if we lose. So now we're having this battle with a smaller country with super talented athletes, and we're going blow for blow with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it caused a rivalry from country to country in sports compared to like where it just might have been the athlete saying, I just want to beat this guy today, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So and I was around before it even became a thing. You know what I mean? Like me and Asafa had our rivalry on the track, but it never was like this big to where it's like
Yeah.
USA, Jamaica, USA, you know? But that's what the sport needs. And I think the sport itself needs to kind of wake up other countries to do the same because now it's more of a team feel vibe instead of just one guy out there representing Jamaica and one guy out there representing USA and whoever wins wins.
You think the trash talk is important? We
Absolutely,
want,
man.
yeah, we want some more. I definitely would like to see or hear a Julian Alfred said to a Sharika or a Shakiri, when I catch you on the track, I'm gonna smoke you. You think that would have bring some more flavor to the thing?
I think so. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't see Julian talking like that.
I
But
know.
I
That's how I
feel you
use
though.
her.
I,
That's how I
I
use
feel you
her.
though. I really feel, and don't get me wrong. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you look at wrestling, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if you're familiar with wrestling. We know wrestling has a element of being staged to a certain extent, right? But what what catches their audience is the fact of the athletes in that sport can trash talk. And they
Mm-hmm.
can go to that next athlete and say, hey, no real feelings attached to this. We just trying to promote this to where it gets to a level to where everyone's excited to see this race happen. Yeah, almost like boxing. Like
Yeah,
those
boxing. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
those pre-interviews before the boxing match happen, where they're talking trash to each other and they're gonna say whatever they're gonna say, and then when they get out on the field, they go handle business. But in the meantime, between that, those athletes are talking to each other, saying, "Hey, let's go out there and make this money, man. Let's go out there and put on a great show." And now we can ask for a bonus. Now we can ask for more money because now we're gonna be one of the greatest shows watched.
Yeah, definitely. All right. People, if you have any questions in the chat, please just drop your questions. I'll pull them up on screen for Justin to answer them. I think this has been a good talk so far. Respect for Justin Gatlin to be here, and we're gonna be continuing. Justin, with all that is happening in the sport, you think the sport clean?
Yeah, I do. I think it is. I think it is. I think that what you see now in our sport is that,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say, professional workouts, right? Those
Mm-hmm.
professional workouts are being passed down to the collegiate athletes and the collegiate coaches, and they're having their athletes run professional workouts. Now those collegiate workouts are getting passed down to the high school athletes. Now those high school athletes are doing collegiate style workouts. So everyone is kind of benefiting, especially underneath the professional realm,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting better and better. You get middle school athletes running, middle school girls out here running
51, 13-year-old running
51.
51,
Exactly. 60
22,
meters, one girl running
11-1.
7-1, 11-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they're benefiting from better workouts than we did when we was growing up, right? But now it puts the pressure on the professional athletes to run faster, be stronger, because now and also realize using their veteran mentality to give them advantage against these young athletes because they're coming in ready. Obviously, they stepping up to the plate, running 10-8s and 9-7s while they're still in college. So
Yeah.
I think it's only benefiting the sport because it's making the sport competitive all the way around.
Yeah. In order of what is the top um contributing factor to athletes running fast? Is it the coaching? Is it the nutrition? Is it the spikes? Is it the masseur? Is it the therapist? Is it the what else are they for? Is it the running gear? Is it the track? Which one in order? You can probably put a top 5. Indicate to us which would be the number one factor for athletes running fast.
I would say it would be, to start off with, it
Mm-hmm.
would be the coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because coaching can go deep. Because
Yeah.
now, as a coach, you can understand athletes like glycogen levels, when they should be resting, when they should be active. You can break
Mm-hmm.
it down to a science. And then I would say next will be the equipment, right? Because now you have modalities out there like the 1080 that can be able to make you feel like you're pulling a sled, and then that same machine can make you
Mm-hmm.
work on your top end speed as well.
Yeah.
So those are things that's helping athletes become better and consistent and not taxing their body to where you should
Yeah.
be doing 8 runs. Now you just can do 3 runs or
3
four
runs.
runs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think also
So
when it
so
comes to
it's
equipment,
sorry. In that sense, then they are moving away from the mechanical way of training into more unorthodox way with those type of equipment.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they're going into the realm of working smarter, not harder.
Smarter,
Right?
right? Exactly.
Exactly. And then also now I think it's the gear, the shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, are people out there breaking world records left and right? No, they're not. You know what I mean? That's what everyone thought the shoes were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it helps the athletes be more consistent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they do run at a high level. So yeah,
Okay.
um, those are my top three right now. I think nutrition is the last frontier. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of athletes, even on a professional level, don't understand or grasp the details of nutrition. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we was coming along, it was like, what did you eat the day of your race? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Or what did you eat after your race? Now you have athletes who are focusing on being consistent with their eating. So now they can produce really good workouts that's going to help them be better athletes when it's time to compete. So I think that's the new thing that's going to happen very soon: nutrition.
Okay. One last thing before I get questions from the chat. What was behind the thought of you putting that heavy duty fan behind you to run 9.4?
Listen, I had no thought at all about it.
You
I didn't
just
know what I
wanted
was
to
getting
beat you
into.
same time.
No, bro, it wasn't even my idea. I listen. All I know is that my agent told me that you're going to be on a Japanese show, and it has a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of different kind of challenges, and we don't know what you're going to be doing. So I showed up, and I see this big old fan boat like you have like in the Everglades. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, that's weird. And they had all these fans lined up. You know what I mean? So then that's when they told me exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to attempt to break the world record and trying to see exactly what would it take to break the world record. So to be honest, I had two attempts. The first attempt, which was crazy, is I ran the time exactly. I came across the finish line. I ran 9:58. So I was happy. I was like, "Oh, we done here." Like I just ran 9:5, and I was ready. I was packing up, taking my shoes off. I was happy. And then the Japanese producer came over and he was like, "Please, Mr. Justin, please, can you run it one more time? One more time. We need to break the record, not tie the record. We need to break
Yeah.
the record." So then I ran it one more time and I ran 9:45. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but it was a crazy experience, man. I did not know this was going to happen at all. I didn't train for it. I did not know it was happening at all. I wasn't even in shape for it, to be honest.
Hey, Justin, the Jamaicans were saying, this man want to do everything in his power to ensure
Hey,
that he break his same record, even
it,
with that win reading behind him.
you know what? And I can see where they're coming from with that. Honestly, I can see that. But that was never my intent at all. That's what they wanted me to do. They paid me to go out there and roast the fans. That's all they
Exactly.
did.
So
But I
yeah,
do. But I must say, when I was in big competition with all the guys out there, and Usain was dominating, I always would think of to myself, and I'd be like, at least I got my Olympic gold medal.
yeah.
Because
Okay, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
was winning three Olympics back to back. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody's thought process of ever becoming an Olympic gold medalist in their career, that was shot. You know what I mean? That man was not relinquishing that gold medal. So I just happy that I have my 2004 gold medal. Happy with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of course. All right. May I try maneuver questions them. I'm from where I start. Say drop the question in the chat. Somebody say you were a football player as well. Is that true?
Yeah, I actually played high school football. I played free safety, played defense.
Mm-hmm.
In my time away from the sport, I gained a football agent, and I was trying out for NFL teams. I made the Buccaneers mini camp, which I made the team for that, and they had me here as a wide receiver. Now I learned ins and outs, routes, catching, everything like that. The one thing that kind of held me back from getting to that next level, well, actually was two things: reading the plays, but also thinking in my mind like I still had love for track. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't love football like I love track. I just knew that I was gifted in athleticism, but I love track and field. So that's where I wanted to be. So I kind of just forego my football endeavors and try to make my way back into the track world, man.
Yeah. All right. Um, let me see. Somebody said if there's a $10 million winner, take all, really pick three to be with you worldwide. Pick your top three relay team.
Top three relay team. I'm on the team.
Yeah, I would suspect that you put yourself on the team.
All right. I mean, maybe I get a coaching fee. You know what I mean? I'm older, man. My mind frame different.
Yeah, yeah.
um, man, I'm gonna say Coleman out the hole, me on the back stretch, Johan Blake on that third leg, and we're gonna both bring it home, man. I think that right there would annihilate the world record for sure.
Hmm. Hey, I
And we're gonna be
remember.
$10 million richer.
Yo, yeah, that's a tough team. But hey, I remember when Johan Blake rough up um Tyson Gee on that third leg.
Listen, bro. As soon as I hit the stick off, I thought we had it in the bag. For whatever reason, when I saw Johan run and burn up that turn, I was like, "Oh, okay,
It's
okay, this is
over.
different. This is different." Yeah,
But Michael Freighter gave you a run for your money on that backstretch though.
Me and Michael go way back, man. Me and Michael go way back to the point where I actually raced against his brother, Lindell.
Lindell, okay.
Yeah. So, um, knowing what Mike possessed and knowing what kind of runner Mike was, he was that kind of guy. He's gonna step up to the plate regardless. So it was always good competition on that backstretch. We know that we had to put our team in good position. And everybody always asks, oh, why you didn't do fourth leg against Usain? Well, if my team is already at deficit, I had no way of catching Usain at all. So at least putting me on the back straight hopefully gave a gap to where now we have a fighting chance to be in a good standing. That was our whole theory of it.
Okay. All right. Sue Miller is saying, are you still coaching?
Yeah, I do consulting right now. I just been moving around a lot, obviously with the podcast, and doing speaking engagements. That I haven't got a chance to be that consistent coach daily. And one thing I did learn about coaching is that you have to transform from being a selfish elite athlete to a selfless elite coach.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two different things. And I went a whole career of almost 20 years of being on a track where that coach was there, rain, sleet, or snow, in those warm areas with you,
Mm-hmm.
win or lose, he's with you on by your side. And I don't think that I was 100% ready to take on that task coming out of track and field
Yeah.
just in 2022. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I feel like I needed a couple of years to where I can just relax,
Mm-hmm.
explore, find myself. And I think that coaching bug's gonna call me at some point for sure.
Okay. All right. Let us see. Um, Somebody's saying you and them went to the same church in Claremont, Florida, and they're asking if you still visit that church.
Well, unfortunately, I don't visit the church because I live in Houston now. But yeah, Claremont, Florida, that church was the IOC. So it was a beautiful church to go to. The pastor was amazing. Pastor Gates, shout out to Pastor Gates, Lady Gates. Um, they had a lot of athletes that would come there as well. Veronica
Mm-hmm.
Campbell actually went to that church too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Omar. So we would actually go to church, and there would be Olympians sitting there just enjoying the word. So it was a beautiful, special place to be for sure.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Guys, chat, if I see questions that he already asked, I'm going to bypass them. Answered, sorry. I'm going to bypass them because it doesn't make sense that we repeat the questions. Orlando is saying, what do you think about Jamaica leaving their trials the same while the United States push theirs back until July?
Um, that's a tough one. I think Team USA pushes their trials back so it gives the opportunity where the athletes don't have to peak twice with such a long gap in between, right? Because um, one of the toughest teams to make in the world is Team USA. It's a tough team to make, especially now it comprises of a lot of elite um, collegiate sprinters who are going to be at the nationals, and I just think that's tough. Jamaica, I can't speak for Jamaica. You know what I mean? If they wanted to push it back, they could. If they didn't, maybe they couldn't, you know? But in all, I think it's going to work well either way because now if you have your nationals sooner, then now gives those opportunity for those Jamaican athletes to get a little bit of rest and prep themselves back up to world championships.
Mm. All right. Do you think we need more psychologists for the athletes?
100%. Sports psych is something that is definitely not put on a pedestal like it should be.
Mm.
You know, athletes are out there by themselves, man. You know what I mean? So imagine you out there by yourself in a non-coachable moment and you're competing in that lane, gun goes off, you don't do well. The first thing these athletes do is they grab their phone. They
Mhm.
check and see what people are saying about them, or if they even say anything at all about them. So I think with the rise of social media as being an influence on opinions and how it sways the athlete's mentality and spiritually, I think the rise of sports psych should be right there next to it, hand in hand for sure.
Okay, cool. Objectivity is asking why Eugene track is so fast. Your opinion.
Because they got Nike money. They got, hey, it's the truth, man. They got Nike money. It's home of Nike, man. So the pocketbook stays open. If they need a new track, guess what? They're gonna get a new track. Look at the stadium, man. Eugene is in geographically is almost in the middle of nowhere. And now when you sit in that stands at Eugene, everyone feels like they're sitting in VIP. Cushy seats, nice silver lining of the stadium. It's state of the art, man. I mean, that's why the track feels fast. They're always gonna make the track fast because not only that, most of the time they're gonna have nationals there for NCAA's. They're gonna have Olympic trials there most of the time. They're gonna have senior nationals there, and then any other rate that Prefontaine's going to be there as well. So you want to make sure that these top races that are going to be acknowledged around the world and people are going to watch are going to produce some of the fastest times. So you got to have one of the fastest tracks.
All right. Tenacious is saying, do you think Grand Slam track can turn into an investment so it can become a legacy? Now that you have retired, what are best way to make extra income, or are you set?
I think that Grand Slam track definitely will be one of those sports that can be invested into. I mean, you hear about Athlos is giving equity to certain athletes. I think Grand Slam can go down that same path at some point where it allows athletes to buy into their events and be able to make money from their own events and their own competitors too. Why not? For me right now, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like you always want more, always want to work more, always want to do more, but I think I'm good right now because now I get an opportunity to kind of like slow down just a bit to watch my kids grow, help them go to practice, help them with their homework, to be that dad that's there instead of the dad that's on television that they're cheering for, but the one that's present consistently. And that's what I always wanted to be.
All right, that sounds good. There's a question on the screen there. I'm not sure if you're seeing it.
Is it the new shoes that making the athletes run fast? It's a possibility. It's a possibility for sure. Um, I trained in the first prototype of like the bubble shoes, right, that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being at practice and clipping off times that were comparable to running 9.6. But the thing with those shoes then was that fact that you had to strike the ground with so much preciseness,
Mm-hmm.
or either you couldn't be this way, you couldn't be that way, you couldn't be too far forward or too far back. You had to be precise. And it was going to give you that launch off that you're looking for to run the time that you want to run. So that was a difference. But I also felt like the bubbles were too big in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and it hurt my knees because it made my knees wobble a little too much
Well,
while I was trying to run.
oh.
Yeah.
Plus,
Um,
plus, plus, if you're, as you said, let me just backtrack a little bit on what you said. You talk about it has to have that perfect landing and all of that. So essentially, it is telling me that if the technique is not precise, then you're not gonna get any assistance from that shoes.
well, 100% is going to work against you. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Um, I hope that answers her question. She's coming again with another question. How fast would you say in run in the new Puma spikes? That's a
You know,
question.
but you know what the crazy thing is? I knew that that was going to be the next question because I was already
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
answer that question. I have no idea. That's a question for Usain, to be honest.
Mm,
Do I believe that Usain had enough power and enough say so that if he had shoes that were very similar to the shoes of today, he would it would make sure that it would be fit for him, right?
mhm.
And obviously he would train in it enough to where he'd be comfortable enough. And I do believe that the shoe would definitely help get him a competitive advantage to go out and run even faster world record time. So yeah.
Yeah, but as you alluded to earlier, the coaching and all of those assistive mechanism that are also used, they will be ahead of the spikes, right? You believe?
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Oh, okay.
Um, I also want to say the fact of it's not necessarily like I want you to understand what the bubble shoes do. The bubble shoes and all these shoes that are out there right now,
Mm-hmm.
these shoe companies were trying to solve an issue. And the issue was that whenever you take a still photo of athletes, especially the ones winning the race, when they're like 20 meters almost to the finish line, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them are hitting the ground flat foot. They're not on the
Yeah,
ball, they're feeding more because they
they're
wasted so much
tired.
energy. They're tired,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So the shoes assisting to help them stay on their toes to be able to get through the finish line and not decelerate through that last part of the race. That's what
Right,
the
right.
shoes are supposed to do.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that clarification. Tenacious asking again if you miss running, and what would you do to help athletes right now?
Yeah, man, I miss running. I don't miss the workouts. I don't miss practice, but I do miss I do miss the competition aspect of things. It's nothing in the world that has even been at that level that I've experienced since I retired. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a rush. You feel addicted to it because it's like war, it's like battle. Going out there and fighting and putting all your efforts out onto the track. That's one thing I do miss for sure.
Okay. That seems as if his phone is dead or something. Some good questions coming in. Hope that Justin can come back. Is either he got a phone call or him phone battery die. So let us see if he'll return. Yeah, big up the people them. Big up the folks who tuned in. You know. Um, waiting on Justin to come back. So I hope that KT's question would have been answered. Justin, if you're hearing me, I see you trying to open back the camera. You can just exit and come back. Yeah, just exit the stream and come back. All right. So Christian, I hope you that put to bed now, because you've been, and you see next time you have to put bigger money on that on the board, because you see them little bit of money that we are send. A YouTuber will get them money. They mean I benefit from them money there. A YouTuber benefit. So you pay YouTube to ask the question, and you see, you don't get the answer what you did want. So you just dash your money give YouTube. See? All right, so yeah. All right, so yeah, you're back.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, man, that's fine. That's fine. We know these things happen sometime. Um, so the other question is, do you believe the women's 100 and 200-meter records will be broken anytime soon? And who do you think are likely contenders to give it a go?
Nah, I don't think they're gonna be broken anytime soon. I don't think so.
Wow.
Close, close maybe, but I don't I don't see it being broken right
You think Bolt's record has any chance of being broken as well?
now. No, not at all, for sure. That's
uh,
just me. I mean, you look at the numbers. You look at the numbers of the athletes that are running right now, and they're elite athletes. They've ran great times, but it's going to take those athletes right now who've never seen a 9.6 to go into the 9.6s, go deep into the 9.6s to run 9.5. That's a whole different
yeah.
stratosphere. That's a whole different planet. And the same thing with the female side. You look at the 100 meters. I mean, Elaine was the closest, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And no one's ran closer to what Elaine has ran. And Elaine's a seasoned vet. Shalene's a seasoned vet. So it's going to
mm-hmm,
take an athlete who's going to run faster than 10.5. You got a couple athletes out there who are running 10.6, but it's going to take them truly being dialed in and focused and leveling up their athleticism, their preparation, their race strategy, everything about them to even dip into beyond 10.5s, you
mm-hmm.
know?
Okay. Do you think Noah Lyles will do the three-peat?
That's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be hard for him. I know it's a gift and a curse right now. The fact of he has the buy for the 1 and the 2, so now he has
Mm-hmm,
time to rest themselves and get ready just for the worlds, right?
mm-hmm,
So it gives him a lot of time to get ready. But you have a lot of athletes that are really poised. You know what I mean? Like
mm-hmm,
look at Keyshawn. Look how Keyshawn has ran this season already. Look at Trayvon Vermel. Look at Sabini Akeem. Um, you got a handful of college athletes right now who have
mm-hmm.
consistently ran fast as well. So it's going to be hard to get navigate through that 100 meters to get on top of that podium. And I think also the fact of in that 200, you got people like Kenny and Tavoho who are
Mm-hmm.
waiting and primed and ready to get on top of that podium.
Yeah, certainly. Onika is saying you have done several interviews on your podcast. Who you might find a hard time in choosing between the great guests that you have had on your platform. But which interview would have been your best? VCB, Bolt, or Spearman?
Spearman was the funniest. VCB was, I felt like I was sitting amongst royalty, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So pristine. Um, Bolt was my favorite because it was very therapeutic for me too. Remember, we never had conversation, full on conversation through our career. And the moment we sat down, it was just like natural. Like we just was two old guys reliving their war days, talking about great times. We both recalling same races and remembering in detail. Like it felt great to have that. We could have talked a whole another hour, but he had to go to the airport.
Mm, wow. All right. Have you ever false started? What is a fear false start rule in your opinion?
The fall started before, yes, in 2005 at the Nationals in the 100. Um, a
All right, somebody will call him again. Yeah, man,
Hey, we've been
continue.
we've been we've been going for about an hour and a half, so everybody's calling me now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a few more questions. I don't want to keep it that long because, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're an important person. You're answering the question about false starting.
I think a fair false start rule is it should be one that's charged to the field to get the jitters out. You know what I mean? So if there's
Mhm.
one that's charged to the field, then after that, everyone receives a false start. So yeah,
Would it be fair to the man who never false start before? The false start rule kind of tricky when you look on it. Yeah, it's really tricky.
I only really didn't false start because I knew that the consequences of coming with not false start, right? So you're gonna get kicked out. That's what it is. But I think
Yeah,
that when you
yeah,
stand on that line and you know it's the Olympic finals, and this is what you've been waiting for since you were 9 years old to be an Olympic champion, you're gonna have some kind of jitters. I don't care who
yeah.
you are, you're gonna have some jitters. So I think that one should be charged to the field, and then everybody kind of brings it back, calm down, everybody, we good, and then you go out there and you get it going.
You know what I think they should do? You see that reaction time, they need to lower it.
Okay.
That's what I think they should do because it is too close. The people are training and getting better and they are improving. So there should be some adjustment to the reaction time as well. With all of the equipment, with all of the technology, why not do some adjustment with that?
I never heard of that before. That's interesting. Yeah, I think so too. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that it can even out because if these guys are getting faster and ladies are getting faster, of course the reaction time is gonna always be better because they practice these things on a
Yeah.
daily basis. So I think that is where the adjustment could be made, so that the thing can have a semblance of order. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Rico Dane said, "What was your favorite race you run and why?"
Probably winning the Olympics. I would say winning the Olympics. But I would also say from winning the Olympics because of how prestigious it was. But
Mm-hmm.
my favorite race was probably 2017. Everything I had to go through from
Mm-hmm.
the first round, all the boos and the semis and finals, like
Yeah.
I think it tested me and showed me something that I didn't know that was in me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Yeah.
anybody can prepare for that kind of moment. And then when I was there, like I surprised myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, through those rounds.
Yeah. Are your kids in sports? And if so, what sports?
Yeah, my oldest is 15. He plays American football varsity. he's not a sprinter. He's a big boy. He's already taller than me. He
Yeah.
weighs probably 215 pounds, so he a big boy. He plays D line. My youngest, he's a speedster, so he might end up playing sports. He's only 4 right now, but by the time he gets about 6, he might end up being, you know what I'm saying, one of those people that's gonna follow in my footsteps. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, people, don't be fooled by how you see Justin Gatlin square up on the camera, you know. He's not that big, you know.
Come on, man. I'm big enough. I'm big enough, right?
Yeah.
The first thing people say to me is, "I didn't know you was that tall." That's what they usually say to me when they see me in person. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but my youngest gonna be my competitor for sure. He woke up the night before last, and I thought he had like a nightmare, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he woke up crying about his older brother beating him in a race.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was like, "Oh, you a real competitor, man. You over here having nightmares about getting beat? Okay, all right."
So I'm looking ahead now, though, Justin. Probably that could start your coaching career off, you know. Yes, son, you know.
I'll do. Definitely, I'm going to help him out, man. I got to make
You
sure my
see,
boy is good.
yeah.
He's carrying the name, so he at least got to look good when he steps out if he's gonna do it.
Definitely. Somebody said Gatlin Jr., Bolt Jr., Powell Jr. in the same finals. That would be something.
Give me a drink and a popcorn. I'm ready to go.
Rob Smith, I don't see a question. Ask it again. Type it again, Rob Smith, in the chat so we can ask the question. There are so many questions coming in, some that Justin would have answered already. Let me see this. Justin, what do you think of Jamaica's men 200 going forward, given the fact that Level ran 19.79?
I think that's great. We haven't seen a dominant 200-meter runner for Team Jamaica in a while. So him going out and running 19.7, it shows that it's still there. And a 19.7 right now will put him
Yeah.
at the top of that podium. So he has a really good shot. If he maintains and stays healthy, he has a really good shot of definitely shocking the world and bringing a medal back home for Jamaica.
All right, that sounds good. Um, Somebody said Powell Jr. won't be lining up for Jamaica. He'll be lining up for Ghana. These these commenters are. What's your favorite food from the Caribbean? Because we notice it there regularly. Though.
Everything. Everything, man. Everything. I like a good curry goat. I like I'm into the oxtails too, you know? I really got into the oxtails lately as well. Gotta have a good patty. When I come out, I gotta have a patty almost every day for
Which one,
sure.
the beef patty
A little chicken,
or the
beef,
chicken or anyone?
jerk chicken patty,
Uh,
beef patty. You gotta go classic, right? Beef patty is a classic, traditional. You gotta go that.
yeah.
But I gotta
Okay.
have one every day. So if you see me in Jamaica, if you want to treat me to a beef patty, that's all I need.
All right. That's so simple, Justin is. No, you don't have to spend a lot, people. You don't have to
Yeah.
spend a lot. All right. Yeah, Rob Smith question just came up.
Li- Listen,
Um,
my nephew's gonna do good for Team Jamaica, right? Asafa Jr., both of the boys, they're gonna do really good for Jamaica. Don't hold it over them. Don't hold it over them. They're gonna do really good.
no,
They look good. They look good in the colors too.
the fans saying they're going to Ghana or Qatar.
Nah.
Asafa, we don't mean nothing by this now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. If Blake didn't get injured in 2013, do you think 2015, 2016, and 17 would have looked different?
Yeah. I think he was the guy who was gonna carry on the torch from Bolt. I mean, to run 19.6 and then run 9.6 and then go run 19.26. I mean, those are tall orders right there. I mean, he ran great times. I think for him, it was just coming into his zone of being a dominant, you know what I'm saying, runner to make sure that he was a consistent champion.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, what you talk about the oxtail still, but that's true. You're not competing because one of your countrymen have that name, you know.
Who that?
Arian
Look,
Oxtail 9.
You gotta have, hey, listen, man, you're gonna have him paranoid, man. He's gonna have to be paranoid out here. That man's not gonna eat no Jamaican food no more. No more. And that's a shame because Jamaican food is delicious.
No, but he didn't eat it in Jamaica, man. In US, he eat it.
Listen, it don't matter. It's on the menu. That's what it says.
Hey, these people are amazing. I saw a question that I wanted you to answer. Yeah, the return of Christopher Taylor. Your thoughts on his return?
Man, watching him run, man, he looked like he was a man on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
A man on a mission. And I think that's what you, in a situation like that, you have to be that. If you believe in who you are, you believe in your work ethic, your talent, and you don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, he can only do it because of this. You got to prove that it's not that. It's actually me going out there and doing what I do best. And he's a man on a mission. That's all I got to say. He's coming through.
Yeah, definitely. But Justin, why this? I know that you used to run for US, but you seem to have a knack for Jamaican athletes. Why is that so though? Is it how we run, how fast we are? I don't know. Talk to us.
So, little backstory, my mom grew up not knowing who her father was, right? So it was between two individuals, and one man was a Caribbean man, and the other man was a man from like Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And military guy. And one died in a tragic accident, and then one passed away soon after that. And then my grandmother passed soon after that. So she never got knowing exactly who her real father was. But every time we're out, she always gets stopped by someone from the Caribbean saying, what island you from? Where you from? Because she has that look in her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then anytime we had championships, from early on, from 2011, 2012, she always would go on the Ludus tours. And the Ludus tours, she always would hang out with the Jamaicans. And
Yeah.
this is when we were like fierce rivals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom would be on the tour buses with all the Jamaicans. And she'd
Wow.
stand up and say, listen, I'm letting all y'all know right now, my son is Justin Gatlin. So I don't hear no back talk, no slick talk. We here have a great time. And all the Jamaicans loved her and they accepted who she was. So I think we have island in us for sure,
Mm.
100%. So I think that's why I can relate to that. But also the fact
Okay.
of Jamaicans, I understand that they come from humble beginnings, right? So to
Mm-hmm.
be able to train and have that mental fortitude to pull yourself out of that environment to make it to the top, to
Mm-hmm.
be and to go through that process of seeing what it's like to live out your dreams from humble beginnings, you gotta be able to take your hat off to them and respect them for that because
Yeah.
they could have came from a 5 bedroom home and had father and mother had a Mercedes Benz and growing up and going to a nice high school and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of Jamaicans never received that kind of like love or attention or that financial backing. They had to get it from any means necessary. So you have to have respect for athletes who do that.
Yeah, definitely. And you know that is a nice way to put the lid on it because like you said, you have been getting phone calls and we know you have other things to do, but definitely we certainly appreciate you coming here. Like I said, this wasn't an interview, it was a chat. I really appreciate it. The chat enjoyed it, you know what I mean? And I'm certain that you enjoyed the little chat too. You understand?
I definitely
Um
enjoyed it, man. I didn't know what we was in store for. You know what I mean? When we talked in Philly, he was like, "Hey, come on the show." I was like, "All right." I didn't
yeah.
ask no questions. I said, "Let's get it done." But I think that this is make sure this is not our last time being on chat though. We got to do it again.
Definitely. Yeah, we
We
have
got to
to do
do it
it
again.
again. Yeah, man, definitely. And I appreciate you coming over. And I tell you, you gain more Jamaican fans.
Hey, I love the Jamaican fans. Listen,
Yeah.
I've said it over and over again. The best fans in the world are Jamaican fans. They die hard. They're gonna hold their athletes to a standard, and they have so much pride. We don't get
Definitely.
that in America. I remember getting off the airplanes and winning championships, and there was no one there
No
to
one.
greet us. But in Jamaica, you would never have that, and that's a sign of good fanship.
Even your retirement, did you receive any fanfare for your retirement or anything like that from the
I
sport?
did, I did through the company that I worked with, but it
Oh,
wasn't
oh.
It was actually in a basketball arena, right? During a basketball game, NBA
Mm-hmm.
basketball game.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I did receive the fanfare and the love and the farewell for it. But
Yeah.
there's nothing can compare to how Jamaicans have passion and love for the sport.
All right, definitely. Before you go, Justin, if you want to shout out anybody and you can tell the people them where you can be they can find you on social media, and then we you can
Hey,
just jump.
I appreciate everyone tuning in, listening in. Keep tuning in to the Coach's Desk, man. Great show. And if you want to see more of me and more of my co-hosts, catch out Ready, Set, Go. And sometime we got to have you on too, man. So we talk about the races. Maybe we'll have you on for Jamaican Nationals, man. See how that goes, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening. All
Appreciate
right.
it, man.
Yeah,
All
man.
right.
Bless.
Good.
All right. So, people, there you have it. Justin Gatlin. I think it was a good interview. Yeah, man. May I give myself flowers? May I give Justin flowers? I think it was a good interview, and was a good chat. So, round of applause. Big up to the people, them. Yeah. Big up all the people in the chat who actually, came out and dropped them few cents, you know. And yeah, NCAs are going, and I will see if we can give some updates on the NCAs as well. But big up on yourself. Big up to Tuffy Rudy, Simeon, Sanya Lee. Big up yourself. Who else in our building? Pablo G, Rachel, Tenacious, Kelly Brown, Toki in the building. A whole lot of people there, Onika, Jupiter, Marsh, Rico Dane, Novelet, Yo K, Harriet Edwards. Yo, so also new people may have seen, man. Big up on yourself, Sue Miller, Tracy B, Wagwan, Trevor. Even Urban, I get big up. Big up yourself, Urban. Because that, I know y'all listen long time, and that is the only thing you could have add to the entire conversation. But we not say nothing. We are big you up same way. Yeah, man. We are big you up same way. Who this? Track Universe. Big up yourself. Objectivity in the place. Twips in the place. Big up everybody. KT, me can't believe, say, you spend so much money. Big up to Sheikah for that super chat, Big up to KT for the super chat, them. Even though at YouTube, you get all of them money there. YouTube, you get all of them money there. Ask one question. Rob Smith, tell her, man. Ask one question what we already been telling you the answer to. Seeing? The shoes they bought third pan the pecking order, KT. Ocean, big up yourself. All our people them in the chat. Anyways, we're gonna close off the show. Thanks again, people, for tuning in. We appreciate you being here. On your way out, hit that like button. Mark you is in the building. Ramon Stewart, big up yourself. Yeah, man. Claude Duncan there. Ralston White. See people them are forward out there now. Yeah, man. Big up on yourself. Catherine Richards. Big up yourself. Look at you. You sound like you're new, Catherine. I first me ask the name there. Ralston White also seems new. Big up yourself. Welcome all the new viewers and subscribers. Justin is the man. Yeah, man. Big up yourself. I think it was. I think Justin was as candid as possible, and that was really a good thing. Trevor, big up yourself. Oh, I missed your question. Wanted to know if Grand Slam never approached him to host. Oh, sorry about that. A whole lot of questions that come, and some of the questions I saw them probably me just see Grand Slam and slide past the one. Who that again? See, it's something gone and I can't find it. Oh yeah, Trevor. So because of the amount of Christopher Lord, who this? Big up, Zidane this. I don't know if I see that, but anyway, big up yourself, Christopher. Yeah, because I see the Grand Slam track, I think that a repeat question, so I just slide past it. But big up yourself, Trevor. No disrespect to your question. I'm always here, coach. Just saying, Staying low. All right, Ralston. We don't want you to stay too low and I hurt your back and your knee, you know. Rise up high above, man. What you say, man? You see me? Next time promote the thing as all right, you see, that is true, Kelly, but I didn't want to put out the poster and then the people them see it and they would never know. So we confirm it late. Remember, Justin saying that Texas, you know, so the time difference is kind of something we did have to try as best as possible to work with. Is it? And yeah, we have to ensure so we get on time when his children are probably, you know, off to bed and stuff like that. So yeah. But you can always watch it on a rerun if you did miss it. You understand? That's why there's a digital library in YouTube. Anyways, people, big up on yourself, like me say. Thanks again for joining. On your way out, please like the video, share the content, subscribe if you're new. Stay safe. Until next time, my people.
Your style and your flavor make the city rock. They must say the season come out with a bang. Coach Minzy, best round here. Remember that.